Hey everybody, welcome back to the Penske File. We're going through my board game collection so far. So we've done 20 to 11, and now we're about to move on to 10 to number 6 in this video. And the next video, of course, is going to be 5 to 1 after that. So apologies for a little dark in here, but there's only so much you can do with incandescent bulbs, huh? So let's move on to number 10. Number 10 on my list is a game called Splendor. It's kind of a newer game. The pieces are falling around in the box right about now, but it is a 2 to 4 player sort of set collection. You try to get poker chip type things in the amounts or different colors that represent different cards that you can buy on the table, and use the cards to build your engine. With the more cards that you have, they give you special amounts of other gems, this is kind of a weird way to explain it, but you basically buy these cards that are in the middle of the table, and as you buy more cards, you're able to buy more and more expensive cards, and the first person to get 15 points or something like that wins. It's kind of new. It's probably the newest game, besides Fire in the Lake, that I have. Yeah, definitely. Just came out last year, I think, or this year, one of those two. It's I like this game. It's fun. It's very quick, very easy. It plays 2 to 4. I think it's better with 2 players. It's one of those games that the more people you add into it, the more chaotic it gets, and I feel like it gets less strategic. An example of that would be Small World. I don't really like Small Worlds, but I think the only way Small World is playable is with 2 people, just because there's somewhat a little bit of strategy involved. I feel the same with Splendor. The more people you add, the more chaotic and chance increases, so you can't block people effectively as you can in the 2-player game, which I think is where a lot of the strategy comes from. As you add more people, people's actions start, going down the line and interfering with what you thought was going to happen. So the more people you add, the less likely that you can actually do anything of meaning that would block somebody or set yourself up for the win. But I think it's a fun game. It's very quick. Very easy to learn. The artwork's really cool. The chips are nice. It comes with poker chips for money, which is kind of cool, as opposed to little like cardboard bits or whatever. So it's expensive, but you're paying for the components. But that's it. Splendor, right there. So that's it. Number 10. My number 9 game is a very small card game called No Thanks. That's it. A very small game. No Thanks is a card, and it's a press your luck kind of game, where you're trying to not collect these cards. The cards have numbers from, I think, 3 to 30, something like 3 to 45, something like that. I forget the numbers exactly. But you have little red chips in front of you, and it goes around the table, a card gets flipped over, and people can put a chip on it to pass and say no thanks, essentially. And it goes around the table, each person putting a chip until someone decides that they want to take the card and all the chips that are on it. So you're trying to avoid getting cards, because a higher score is bad. This is kind of like a golf game. You want a low score as possible, and the little red chips are -1 for each one of those that you have. So it's a push your luck game, seeing how far you think people are going to go before they give up and take a card, or whether or not you can get another round out of it, or if you can get more red chips. And the other silly thing, or not silly, but the other rule is that if you get cards that are consecutive, you only count the lowest value of those consecutive cards. So if you have a 19 and a 20, you have a 19 for a score. Instead of if you had a 19 and a 21, you have 40, because you had those 2 cards together. So there's a little bit of strategy in that. I think it's really fun. It's a really simple card game. Everyone picks it up very easily. It's a good drinking game along those lines. It's a good betting game if you wanted to actually put money on it and things like that. But it's been around for a while. I think it's always high on everybody's list for these things. But I really enjoy this. I think it's got the right amount of strategy and the right amount of luck, and it goes fast enough where you don't care win or lose what happens. But that's it. No thanks. Next up on the list is number 8, and it's a game called For Sale. For Sale is the game of property and prosperity. This is it's a $20 game, plays 3 to 6 people, takes about 20 minutes to play. It's a game of buying and selling properties. You start out with a bunch of money, and cards start being laid out on the table with different values, and you're trying to bid to get the high card. Or you're trying to bid to avoid getting the low card, is in the way it is. So as people drop out, they take the lowest card that's left on the table all the way to the highest person who gets the high card. And there's some other betting shenanigans, or not betting, but if you win the high card, if you win the bet, you pay all of the money of the bet. If you drop out, you pay half. So there's a strategy about when you want to give up, what you want to drive other people to do. And then in the second half of the game, you take the properties that you've bought with your money, and you use them to blindly bid on check cards that come out. So a whole bunch of check cards come out. You look through your hand of cards and you determine what card you want to play to win the corresponding value card that's out there. So if you put the high card of your cards in your hand down, you win the high card that is on the table of the checks. And at the end of the game, you add up the amount of checks that you have and any leftover money, and the winner is the person with the high score. It's really fun. It's really cool. It scales really well. I think it's better with the more people. Obviously, all the bidding games are usually. It's a little tough with 3 people. But everyone I've taught this to enjoys it. I think the mechanics are as clean as you can get in a game like this. It's very simple, very easy to learn. Everyone has a blast. It's the betting is very nice, and it leads to a lot of little decisions about what you want to do. Everyone who has played it has always wanted to play more, and it's always a game that people want to come back to, gaming and non-gaming. I think it's just a really pure little game that's a lot of fun, and I have always enjoyed it. It's very high on my list. I play it. It always goes everywhere I bring the games, and it's always the game that actually gets played, even if none of the others do. So for that reason, For Sale is up here at number 8. Number 7, 1775, The American Revolution. I think it's called 1775 Rebellion. Yeah, 1775 Rebellion. We just did a Let's Play of this, actually, me and my friend Sean. So you can find that video series somewhere on the channel. And if you're interested, I would definitely check it out. We play a game through, just the 2 of us. It's a 2 to 4 player game. It's basically a 2-on-2, so you can have one person plays 2 teams if there's only 2 of you. And it's the American Revolution. Americans versus, or the colonists of America at that time against the British. And it is a very elegant dice rolling war game. It's a very light war game that pretty much anyone can get into. It's very easy. There's not a lot of deep strategy going on. You have different colored cubes that you move around the colonies, and you try to control areas by being the only cubes of that color, of that side. So you and your ally can be the only cubes in a colony, and if you have that, you control it. If there are enemy cubes, you don't control it, and you have to fight them by moving your cubes into their area, and you roll dice to determine what happens. And the dice are cool. There's like hits, runs, and executive decisions. So you have, and all the armies are different strengths at different things. So the dice are different for each team, and you roll against each other until someone's defeated, or they run away, or they move into a different area. And so it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of dice rolling. It's very, it's not particularly heavy in any sort of way. People really pick it up very fast. The dice rolling is fun. You can't take it too seriously if you lose, because the game is based on dice rolling for 90% of it. There's a little bit of strategy involved about whether or not you want to flee into adjacent colonies to cause people to lose control. And it's a very back and forth sort of situation about whether or not you actually control areas. And all the games are very close at the end. It's always someone just wins by a turn, which is sort of a downside to me. It is, the game is over when one side plays both of its what they call truce cards. So when those 2 cards come out, the game's over at that point, and whoever has control of more colonies wins. And the game feels kind of abrupt at the end, although it's not long enough to really be upset by that. You can sort of mess around with it and time your victory, if you will. So there's a little bit of strategy in that regard. But outside of that, I think it's a lot of fun. Even if it is a little bit of an abrupt ending, I think the game looks gorgeous. I like the cubes. I know people complain about cubes for whatever reason, but I like the way aesthetically the cubes look. I don't need little miniatures or anything like that. I like the map's beautiful. The dice are cool. All in all, it's very fun, and I like the idea of a cooperative war game, which this game is. It makes it a little bit more group friendly, I guess, where a lot of war games are sort of solo affairs. This one does a nice job of walking the line, and it's very enjoyable, and I like it. I would recommend getting this one, 1775 Rebellion. Number 6, last one on this list, Puerto Rico. I think this one has kind of fallen out of favor, although it's very high in Board Game Geek still. It's probably over a decade old at this point. 2002, so 12 years, 13 years almost. It's a classic. It was number 1 on Board Game Geek for a very, very long time. It is a worker placement sort of kind of game where you pick roles and you do various things where you're trying to get crops and then sell crops and build buildings on your island. And you get victory points for doing these various things. But the sort of magic of it is there are rolls in front of you. Everyone takes a roll on a turn, and no one can take that roll if you've already taken it. So that's kind of the worker placement aspect of it. And you get a benefit from doing that roll or that action of that card, but everyone else can do the action. So everyone does the action that some person plays, but the person who picks the card gets a bonus from it. And I really like that mechanic. I think it's a good it's a way that modern board games have moved that is really impressive, where old games are you're kind of waiting for your turn, and you still do that in a lot of modern board games. But Puerto Rico it's a great, I think it's one of my favorite gateway games, even when Ticket to Ride, because it's not really that difficult. It seems more difficult than it is when you're trying to explain it to someone, which is unfortunate, but that's just the way it works. But once you get into it, everyone is constantly playing, so there's no downtime, which is fantastic. Everyone has a chance to do something. The games are usually pretty close, even if you're not sure what you're doing. People like to do the buildings and stuff like that. They like control of their own little area. It makes you feel like you're accomplishing a lot, even if you're not. And you don't feel that you're being left behind or anything. You're always doing something, which I think is a great way for a gateway game to get in. And I think it's actually kind of deep. I enjoy this game. I think Puerto Rico is a lot of fun. I think people have criticisms of it's scripted or there's always an optimal move. I haven't gotten to that point. I don't play these games seriously enough for that to be a problem. I'm more of a gut player than a heavy thinker. I know a lot of people I play with do put more thought into it, but I'm more of a gut player. I see the options and I just sort of instinctively go with what I think is best, even if it's not actually the optimal or ideal situation to be in. But yeah, Puerto Rico, there's a reason it was ranked so highly for so long. I think it's a really great game. It's a lot of fun. And I would recommend picking it up. So that's at number 6, Puerto Rico.